We're not gonna let any fighters down. We're here to stay. And this same thing that is happening now has happened before in every other sport, like in NFL, NHL, NBA, and now it's happening in UFC. It's gonna happen whether they like it or not. I know a lot of fighters want to remain unanimous, but I'm telling you guys, come see us, and it's time to stand all together. If I decide to stand now and I've been approached many times in the past for this thing. If I decided to stand now, it's because this is the most solid team. This is a very, very solid team that you guys can trust and will make the difference. That's what I can say.
Bjorn, anything on the antitrust lawsuit or the Ali Act move in Congress, U.S. Congress, obviously?
No, Eddie. I mean, look, I kind of went long and probably too involved into the positioning of why an antitrust suit now doesn't make sense and why we'd be better off taking steps that allow us to secure 100% of all the benefits that come from this for the fighters as opposed to lawyers. And for the Ali Act, that's an extensive conversation. I mean, look, there's elements of it that speak to exactly what we're talking about here in terms of health and in terms of safety and in terms of relative conflicts of interest and those kind of issues. But yeah, I mean, could there be conversations on that front at some point? Yeah, sure there could, because there's like or similar mindsets.
And would this organization, if it would come to it, would it plan to run its own MMA shows, or is it just looking to form an association for UFC fighters?
Look, Eddie, it's a mixed martial arts association, and it's the fighters here that are forming it for the purposes that we've described. It's not a mixed martial arts promotion. Thanks so much, Eddie. Appreciate it. Going to move on to the next call.
We'll go next to Benoit Baudouin with RDS. Please go ahead. Benoit, your line is open. Do you have us on mute?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Hi, everyone. There was a pro fighter association that was launched a few months ago. What do you think of their venture? Do you plan to work with them? And why did you decide to do something differently from this group?
So, the thing for an association to work is the right team, the heart, the passion, and the understanding of what's right and wrong. This is not the quick fix. This is not looking for that easy dollar to try to get a settlement, to try to, all right, the UFC was just bought, so they have some money sitting aside. This is, let's line our pockets. That's not what the fuck this is. This is 5 dudes, and now what's going to be 500 fighters, female fighters, retired fighters, champions, every single name that you know and recognize, but more importantly, a lot of the names that you don't, that are standing up to see change. So that's what the difference is that we came together to back the right horse. It was the first time that we had the right team with the right marquee athletes. You can't get George St. Pierre, King Velasquez, Cowboy, TJ in the room together, but here they are. And they're surrounded by the best and brightest minds that know this sport inside and out. So the difference is, we're not there to make a quick buck. We're here to change the sport forever so that the fighters that have fought and fighters that are going to fight have a chance to not be permanently injured and to be compensated fairly for what they've done and for the sacrifices that they've made for the sport.
So, this is not a union, but is your association plan to negotiate pension fund and health insurance on behalf of all the fighters in the UFC, or because you are independent contractor, every one of you will have to still negotiate your stuff with the UFC? What's the plan?
The ultimate finalization will be the manifestation of a collective bargaining agreement that'll address all those issues. So it ultimately will be one agreement that covers the increases, the pension benefits, the health care benefits. Let's not forget about disability benefits, I mean, look and compare and contrast this to baseball. You sign a 4-year deal for $20 million in baseball, you get injured on day number 2, you get $20 million. You fight in a cage in the UFC, and you get injured before your fight, and you receive nothing. So the dynamic and the balance in this system is completely off. If somebody told me that those were opposites, and that there was a hugely successful sports property that was the most valuable sports property in history, and, you know, but look, the good news is these guys fight in a cage and put themselves through hell, but the positive is that if they do get injured, they get their full purse and they get that year's worth of benefits and anything that they're contracted for 3 years or 4 years. I would say, well, that makes sense. Of course they do. They could break their neck. They could be knocked unconscious and suffer huge head trauma that could result later CTE. They could have horrible injuries. So that's the dynamic, and ultimately we'll be accomplishing it for every UFC fighter, not just for each guy on an individual basis.
Destroyed. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Lloyd. Move on to the next question, please.
We'll go next to Dave Diebert with Post Media News. Please go ahead.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for the time. Just a quick question. I'll direct first one to George and second one to Bjorn. George, how much